So we are very happy to see the interest in today's theme and that we have this opportunity to introduce you to our colleagues working at the Norwegian and Canadian embassies and with a responsibility to following up the Norwegian and Canadian higher education institutions seeking collaboration in the other country. Today's agenda is as follows. I will briefly introduce the Panorama Strategy and the two most important funding schemes under it. Then Radina Trengereid and Bjørn Petter Hernes will present how the embassies work to facilitate better research and education cooperation between our countries. And then we will hear from panelists representing higher education institutions which have experience in collaboration between Norway and Canada. If you have questions for the presenters or the panel, please feel free to use the chat function, or you can engage in the discussion at the end of the webinar by raising your hands. Before I continue, I would like you to answer a couple of questions in this poll so that we have a sense of who our audience is here today. So whether you're working from Norway or Canada and what sector you represent. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to answer. Now let's see. Well, there is an overweight of the higher education sector represented among us, but I'm really glad to see that we're both people working from Norway and Canada participating today. And maybe we should strive in the future for a higher representation of the private sector among our webinar participants. We can stop sharing and I'll go on with my presentation, I think. So Norwegian institutions, as you may know, have long-lasting collaboration with Canada. And since 2008, the Norwegian government has recognized the importance of stimulating more institutional partnerships in higher education and research between Norway and Canada and the US, and has set aside big funds to fund this purpose. Last year, Canada and the US were incorporated in the Panorama Strategy, which is Norway's strategy for bilateral cooperation with 9 prioritized countries outside Europe. And the strategy also includes Brazil, China, India, Russia, South Africa, and South Korea. The objective of the Panorama Strategy is to view activities involving research, innovation, and higher education within a cohesive framework with strong linkages to business and industry. The government seeks to promote targeted bilateral cooperation with the Panorama countries by facilitating a long-term strengthening of academic interactions between institutions in Norway and the strategy countries. And the government promotes the cooperation with the Panorama countries through the use of flexible financial instruments for institutional cooperation and mobility, and mainly through the 2 programs, Utforsk and Internships. So the new Panorama Strategy is based on the previous Panorama Strategy, which lasted from 2015, and will form part of the government's follow-up on the long-term plan for research and higher education, and also a white paper, which is called A World of Opportunities, International Student Mobility in Higher Education. The Norwegian government expects that cooperation with the Panorama countries will be based on established principles linked to quality, relevance, reciprocity, long-term perspectives, and accountability. And the cooperation is to be based on the following 5 main priorities, which are constructive interaction in higher education, research and innovation cooperation, good links to working life and the business sector, good student mobility, good interaction between bilateral and multilateral cooperation, and research-based knowledge to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see in the picture, much is about collaboration between the different corners of the knowledge triangle: education, innovation, and research. So Utforsk is one of the funding instruments under the Panorama Strategy, and so the strategy goals applies also to this program. Utforsk is a wide and flexible program that covers all academic fields and all levels of higher education, from bachelor to PhD. Its overall goal is to strengthen higher education for a sustainable future, and this is to be achieved through strengthening the partnerships between higher education institutions in Norway and the relevant countries within areas of mutual and strategic interest, and to enhance quality and relevance of study programs at the institutions involved. The Utforsk 2021 call for applications is open for partnerships with all the 9 Panorama countries. Please note that the Norwegian institution must be the applicant institution, and each project must include at least 1 partner institution from the Panorama countries. Additional institutions and public and private enterprises or organizations, NGOs, may also be included as network partners. And each project may be awarded up to 3 million Norwegian kroner for a 4-year-long period, and at least 100 million Norwegian kroner is available. And of these, 9 million kroner has been earmarked for project with main partners in Canada. The application deadline is 20th of April at 12 o'clock Norwegian time. And for more information about the program and call, you can see our webpage. The other funding scheme under the Panorama Strategy is Internships. The overall aim of the program is to develop world-class research and higher education in Norway through long-term international cooperation. And its target institutions is in the 9 Panorama countries, in addition to France and Germany. The ambition of developing academic excellence is sought stimulated through 2 main strategies. Through systematic interplay between high-quality research and educational activities, through processes of knowledge production across disciplines and sectors, and partnerships between institutions, exceeding collaboration between individual researchers, and involving strategic leadership and administration at the institutions, which enables long-term perspectives and effects. Eligible applicants to the program are universities, university colleges, and research institutes in Norway. And in addition, there is a pre-qualification mechanism. This means that active peer-reviewed research funding is an eligibility criterion, meaning that eligible applicants must have qualified by already receiving peer-reviewed research and innovation funding from specific sources. The program has had annual calls since 2015 and has awarded approximately 750 billion Norwegian kroner to approximately 130 projects. So as you can see, this is a big investment from the Norwegian government. The deadline of the current call is 16th of March, and more information can be found at the webpage of the Norwegian Research Council. Please contact us in the Norwegian Directorate for Higher Education and Skills if you have questions, and I will also answer questions at the end of the webinar. But now let me give the virtual floor to my colleague Radina Trengereid, who is the counselor for science, technology and higher education in the US and Canada at the Norwegian Embassy in Washington.
Yes, good morning to everyone. It is a really great pleasure to be together with you today on this webinar. Unfortunately, I will need some assistance from the colleagues in Bergen to assist me with the presentation, but hopefully this will not be any problem. So thank you again for this. I would like to give a short presentation related to the Norwegian-Canadian cooperation within higher education. International cooperation is a topic high on the agenda in Norwegian higher education and research policy. Despite of the fact that Norway is a small country, it is essential for us to participate fully in the global development and dissemination of knowledge. International cooperation gives us knowledge, networks, and new ideas that are of great value. It is really very important in order to this and to get a common understanding of different challenges. Next, please. We have long traditions in bilateral cooperation within higher education and science, and Norway and Canada have similar research profiles and collaborate in a number of the same areas. Arctic research, research within climate, energy, oceans, and health are some examples of the ongoing collaboration between different institutions across our two countries. Cooperation in education and research have a huge potential and keeps open important channels of communication and build relationships between people that are valuable in a long-term perspective. On this background, we always try to support initiatives between partners as well as to contribute in the search of new areas of cooperation between Norwegian and Canadian institutions. Next, please. I believe that there is substantial potential to explore the cooperation opportunities in areas such as education, marine and freshwater biology, carbon capture and storage, hydrogen and hydrogen power, as well as within bioenergy. There are also many similarities in the industrial structures of Canada and of Norway, which may pave the way for increased cooperation as well. Closer cooperation can be developed with Canadian Centers of Excellence and Innovation and cooperation with regard to infrastructure as well. Next, please. Canada is a great option for Norwegian students. Each year, nearly 500,000 international students choose Canada as their study destination, and we want a bigger proportion of those to be from Norway. From urban centers to small towns, Canada is considered as one of the safest countries in the world for international students. The United Nations constantly ranks Canada as one of the best places in the world to live. Canada is always known for having some of the lowest university tuition fees among English-speaking countries, and that's also quite important issue for our students. Studying abroad opens always up opportunity for adventure and new experience as well. There are many places to go and experience for students in Canada. Please, next picture. Before the pandemic, the student mobility between Norway and Canada was increasing. On the other hand, we would like to see more Norwegian students in Canada. Not least would we like to explore the potential to closer cooperation across the elements of the knowledge triangle: research, higher education, and innovation and business to a greater extent, like Sine also mentioned. We have to keep in mind that modern universities are functioning not only as centers of research and teaching, but also as institutions whose mission is to prepare the future human resources in business organizations. I believe that such a cooperation approach gives an opportunity for young people to gain work experience while they are still in academic education, as well as chance to make contact with the modern innovative companies and get a kind of deeper understanding of the economic environment in which they intend to seek employment in the near future. From employers' point of view, the contact with young, talented, and ambitious people is important for development of the human resources in the enterprises. Such approach is in line with the Norwegian white paper regarding labor market relevance. Next one, please. On this background, our strategical goal is to see more Norwegian students in Canada, both in full-time and exchange programs, more joint research projects, as well as connecting research and educational collaboration, strengthen international collaboration in generally, as well as bigger geographical expansion. And of course, at the end of the pandemic, maybe more meetings venue and new network building. Next picture. Norway's ambassador to Canada, Mr. John Fredriksen, is greeting you with those few words. Norway and Canada share our democratic values and our northern way of life. Canada and its provinces are highly recommended strategic partners for Norwegian institutions within a number of research and higher education areas. Still, research cooperation between Norway and Canada is lower than expected given the many common futures. We know that there are many institutions and programs on both sides that will be a great match for each other. While we have seen a positive trend with more student exchange between Norway and Canada in recent years, we want to see many more Norwegian students in Canada in the years to come. Great opportunities await. Next picture. Our strategy in the embassy is to support and facilitate initiative between partners, contribute in the research the search of new areas for cooperation and partners, and of course, we would like to contribute to realization of the Panorama Strategy. Next picture. We always include visits to Canadian educational and research institutions when our ambassador travels in Canada. Recently, we visited Laval University in Quebec, the University of Toronto, and Oakland University in Toronto. Next picture. We regularly host delegations from Norway as well. In 2018, the Norwegian parliamentary delegation for education and research visited Toronto and St. John's, and we look really forward to more visits from with political participation during this year. Next picture. If you are planning some activities in Canada, we have many resources here waiting to assist you. We have, for instance, 10 honorary consultants spread all over Canada that really have a great and valuable local knowledge and will always be happy to help. Innovation Norway has also an office in Toronto if anyone should need anything related to business and industry connections and collaboration with them. And finally, you are always welcome to reach out to our embassy in Ottawa, and we will try to assist you in any way we can. I would like to share finally some useful contact information. The last picture, Christian, please. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send it on the chat or after we are done with the presentations. I will really be happy to answer. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Radina. And now I'm really happy that we are able to present you to our colleague at the Norwegian Embassy, the Canadian Embassy in Oslo, Bjørn Petter Hernes, which is a Senior Trade Officer for Education and Creative Industries. The virtual floor is yours, Bjørn Petter.
Thank you. I'll just see if I am able to share my screen. Hopefully I can. There it is. Let me see. Did that work?
Yes.
It did. Okay. So I've
you are in presenter mode. We can see your notes.
Oh, my notes. Okay. Oh, that's fine. That's how that work. Oh, yeah. That better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't have many notes anyway, so that's fine. So basically, my name is Bjørn Hernes, and I'm the Senior Trade Commissioner for Education and Creative Industries here at the Embassy. I also, do some part-time work as the Public Affairs and Officer with the Embassy as well. On that line, I also cover some of the academic relations between Canada and Norway. So I have sort of a wide range of experience in that way. So I just thought I would show you mostly for the the Norwegian audience, like 3 fast slides about Canada and collaboration, and then we can go on from there. Anyways, so. And thank you, Radina, for using some of the sales pitches that we do deliver to Norwegian students when they want to go abroad to Canada. So that's great. I'm really happy to see the priorities that we have and that you have are aligned if you want. So basically. One of the things we're selling, is quality and excellence of, Canadian institutions, and for the Canadian audiences, I think, the Norwegian institutions are also equally excellent. You can just have a look at the medal standings at the current Winter Olympics and see, how well the Norwegians are doing. So you will see that, excellence is really high on the agenda here as well in Norway. So anyways, I think that's, it goes without saying. So when we sort of present to us, we sort of look at Canada as having, a really sort of thriving research culture. And I think that's important, when you talk about partnerships. Canada ranks really high among the OECD in terms of, the research performed, by, colleges and universities, way above the other G7s. So it is a really, really strong ecosystem between the universities in Canada and institutes and colleges and research. So that's a really important aspect, I think, of the Canadian landscape. And then there are also many sort of really specialized research field, and I think Radina has looked at some of them that sort of align very well with Norway: medicine, biology, ICT, agriculture, aquaculture, it's, Arctic, and also, I'd like put a little plug in for social sciences for the least for the Norwegian institutions. And there are, Canada is a good case study for Norwegian institutions in terms of managing complex diversity, and in fair other areas, and another area as well where Norway and Canada shares. I mean, the Arctic is one of them, but they also, we both have indigenous populations, and so this is where some of the social sciences sort of come in. And of course, Canada is a business nation, and ready to do business, and of course, have really, really strong areas there as well. And there are also, a big focus on international collaboration on the part of the Norwegian, Canadian institutions. Almost all Canadian universities, they have programs for international partners, and it's also a sort of increased focus on internationalization in, the strategic plans that the Canadian institutions have, and this is also sort of measures quite well with the government of Canada that sort of has some international education strategies. So there's funding coming or like in place already to help institutions become more active internationally. So that's really, really great. And then also on the research collaboration, there's already a lot happening between Canada and Norway, but also in generally there's a lot of international research ongoing in Canada, a lot of research going in and out. So I think it's a really, really great, Canada is a good partner for Canadian institutions on many, many reasons. So that's a very, very quick overview. And here are some sort of more sort of resources that you can have a look at for the Norwegian institutions to learn more about Canada and institutions and whatnot. And so what can we do? So we sit here at the Canadian Embassy in Oslo, Norway. I'm part of the Trade Commissioner Service, which is also part of the embassy. So some of our programs are, come through the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service. So I kind of see ourselves as a little bit of a sort of a gateway, both ways for Canadian institutions looking this way, coming to Norway, and for Norwegian institutions wanting to sort of, explore Canada further in terms of partnerships and whatnot. We have information, we for the Canadian institutions, we have a fairly good knowledge of what's going on in Norway, and also for the Norwegian institutions following, we have information or access to information in Canada. And, a little bit like, the Norwegian embassy in Ottawa, they have, honorary consuls in Canada and in the various provinces. We also have regional offices under the Trade Commissioner Service that, we can help, with partnerships and things like that. We have direct contact with Universities Canada, Colleges and Institutes Canada, Canadian Bureau of International Education. So we're here and we're, happy to help, as the Norwegian Embassy has done, any delegations coming this way to Norway, and if there are other Norwegian delegations going to Canada, we can help. And so I mean, we are here with information, and so with networks on both sides. So and of course, as key partners in our networks are the Directorate, and also the Norwegian Embassy in Ottawa, and then also Radina in Washington, as well as we have regular meetings, and we talk. So I think it's a good sort of synergy between our institutions and organizations. So I think it's a great either the embassy in Ottawa, like Norwegian, or us in Oslo here, we're sort of great starting points, if you want to explore cooperation with the other country, whether it's Norwegians in Canada and in Norway wanting to Canada, or Canadians in Canada wanting to come here. And also sometimes for students and others in Norway, we also help with information about visa requirements and that kind of thing. And of course, we do a little bit of the same, like the Regina and the colleagues at the Norwegian Embassy in Ottawa. We do outreach in Norway, and we have a new ambassador. Her name is Deirdre Kent, and of course she sends her greetings to you. And also I think you know, she'll be starting to do some regional outreach in Norway to a number of institutions in the, you know, like in Stavanger and Bergen and Trondheim and Tromsø and Bodø, and you know, these important places in Norway. And of course we will try to include as much as possible visits to, you know, the education institutions. And so we're really looking forward to expand that, and hope it's the you know, the end of the pandemic, so we can sort of really get out there and do what we want and what we can. And so I don't know, I think that sort of covers my presentation. I really appreciate the you know, the collaboration with the embassy in Ottawa and Redina and the directorate. So anyway, so thank you for that, and I can answer questions afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you to Bjørn as well. I'm really happy that we're succeeding in speaking with this one voice. We want to see more collaboration between our two countries, Norway and Canada. So now we are so lucky to have this esteemed panel of representatives from Norwegian higher education institutions who will share their experiences from working with partners in Canada. We will first do a round of introductions before we continue with a small conversation between the panelists and answering questions from you who are interested in hearing more details from our panelists. As I said in my introduction, you may use the chat function. I see that there's a conversation going on there, and then you can also please raise your hand and take part in the discussion. So I would like to give the word to Morten to introduce your partnership with your partner institution in Canada.
Thank you very much, Synne. I'm delighted to be here. It's very good to have and we are very thankful for having the opportunity to share some of the experiences with our project. My name is Morten Edvardsen. I come from Nord University. When we started this Diku project with Queen's University and the Faculty of Education, I was the head of Department for Teacher Education at Nord University. And we had then, as now, 3 campuses. We have these 4 topics which we have framed our collaboration in, and it is about teacher education is one as a whole, and educational leadership. And the next is digital innovation and educational technology. That is the second year. And then we have indigenous studies, diversity and inclusion. And in the end, we have exceptional learners. And why are we interested in this? And why is it relevant for us collaborating with Queen's University? I will say a little bit about later, but I can already say that because of the common values, as some of you already have mentioned, we saw that we had common values in our educational systems and also in our way of teaching students and future teachers. That is one thing, but we also see that we have common values in the school systems, but we have different approach and different ways of achieving our goals. So then we talk of the name of our project, the Canopy, Canadian Norwegian Pedagogy, that we could create a common model, the best parts from the Norwegian and Canadian teacher education, and as well as some of the models and thinking in the school systems as well. So that is in a way what we hope to have as an output from these years of collaboration. It has been really exciting to start this project in the middle of a pandemic. So we were so lucky in the first meeting that we could have a meeting at Queen's before everything was closed and shut down. And we also got support from the embassy there as well, and great support also from Synne in our activities and thinking and developing this project further. So in addition to what I mentioned, we also have the students exchange as a main core. This is very important for us, that students have exchange both in person but also online, and also with tutoring. We give guest lectures to Queen's, and Queen's give guest lectures to us and opposite. So we have a lot of activities ongoing all the year around. And if I have 2 very big minutes, I would also like to say that we stress maintaining these relationship and the relation to Queen's, because we do not think only these years, these 4 years, we think long-term perspectives, and have already started to apply for funding for all the projects concerning the teacher education program, challenges and possibilities in running high quality master programs, etc., etc. So it is very interesting, and I think that we are lucky to have this project, and you are indeed. I will encourage everyone and answer every question that you might have about how it is to collaborate with Queen's University, a Canadian partner. They are excellent in thinking, and they always deliver and do as we have agreed. So it's like the best country, and probably also one of the best universities to collaborate with. So that was my short introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morten. I think we'll give the word to Astrid now. I'm sure you have some similar nice words to say about your partner in Canada.
Oh, yes, very much indeed. Thank you very much for inviting me, and for giving me this opportunity to share some information about our current collaboration project with our partner in Canada. My name is Astrid Folldal. I head of section for the international relations at NHH, Norwegian School of Economics. We're a business school, and so is our partner in Canada, HEC Montreal. And we both offer education and do research within the academic fields of management, business administration, and economics. We received funding in the North America program a couple of years ago, just before the pandemic hit as well. And we were not lucky enough to start off physically with meeting each other. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to have time for that before we were shut down on both ends. But we have continued our collaboration and followed the project plans, and it has been a very rewarding and interesting project to work on. Our project is basically that we want to develop a double degree together with HEC Montreal, and it's within complementary academic fields. In Norway at NHH, we will establish the double degree within the Master of Energy, Natural Resources and the Environment, and at HEC Montreal within the Master Program of Global Supply Chain Management. And we believe that this joint program will give unique opportunities for our students to acquire skills and knowledge that is very much in demand and sought after within the energy sector, both in Canada and in Norway. And by creating this program together, we also would like to try and be innovative and to develop the double degree program model further. And we do that by collaborating on creating a joint course together. We collaborate on joint teaching, and we also work on implementing an international internship as part of the degree program. which enables students both in Canada and in Norway to have an internship during the study program. And by this, we also add on collaboration with businesses and industry partners relevant to the topic of the double degree program. I think, well, the reason why we do this is obviously that we want to create something together that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to create on our own. We tap into our each other's academic strengths and try to create a program that will supplement and complement each other to give students a unique educational opportunity and to provide them with knowledge that they need in this day and time with all these challenges with the climate change and how we should be able to produce enough renewable energy and how to deal with all these challenges lying ahead of us. So it's been a very interesting project to work on. We also have learned a lot about how to establish the program and how to establish structures and how to, we have learned from each other on how to set up these double degree programs and how to implement them into already existing programs and work on administrative procedures and so on. So I think it has been very rewarding and interesting to work on this project, both on the academic side and on the administrative side, where which I represent in this project group. So this is really very briefly our project, and thank you again for having me on this panel. I look forward to receiving questions.
Thank you very much, Astrid. And our last lady out is Lisbeth. Please, could you also present yourself, Lisbeth?
Yes, thank you for inviting me to join this panel. I am Lisbeth Skeie-Skarpaas. I'm working as an associate professor at OsloMet, Oslo Metropolitan University, and at the health science, the Faculty of Health Science. And I'm working with educating occupational therapists, in addition to doing research. And we have recently received funding from Diku on a project named Occupational Therapists as Responsible Global Citizens. And that project was really relevant for us to develop because we are working with a new curriculum. And we wanted to offer possibilities for students to do both virtual and mobility exchanges during their period as bachelor students, and to develop sustainable and well-integrated international activities during their educational time. And we have a long-term relationship with the University of Western Ontario in Canada that has been in 10 years, from 2012. Now it started out with cooperation on public health and occupational science together with the Norwegian University of Life Sciences, and have developed during these years. So in 2016, we started with a module named Aging Globally. And in that cooperation, we also had a tour to Canada and visited several universities and extended our relationship with the University of Western Ontario and was able to develop this project that was funded from December 2021. So this project that I'm going to talk about, and my role is kind of new, but the cooperation with OsloMet and Western University has been for several years already. And while we are working with Western on this project is that we have common interests in the global phenomenon of aging. We both are working with health sciences and students on a bachelor level that are going to be professionals in health science in some kind of degree. And we have cooperated with this module of with online learning for some years, and now it's integrated into our project as one of the work packages. We have also in this work with this project planned to extend the cooperation to also internships. We have planned for Canadian students to come to Norway, to Oslo to join for internships in the summer term, and we are working with possibilities for Norwegian students to travel to Western for exchanges during their bachelor degree. But the experience we have so far is PhD students going to Western for theoretical modules in occupational science. I will say one of the big reasons that we are able to do this project is because of the long-term relationship that had been built during these years, and that we have really engaged people at Western that are really add some value to our students in experiences and understanding of the global health issues. That's important to us. And one of the aims of this project is that we are going to educate the global citizens that will address issues of global health, diversity, innovation, technology, and occupational justice. And this is some really important learning outcomes that our students will have a greater knowledge of when we've had this cooperation with the Canadian educators and the contact with the Canadian students. Concrete, what we do is that we have an online module that students from Norway and students from Canada work together on cases related to aging during a 3-month period. And then 30 Canadian students travel to Norway and join our students at Oslo for a 2-day seminar and with workshops. And they are doing a Nordic travel to Stockholm and Copenhagen afterwards. So they're doing a Nordic tour during this period after we have these days in Oslo. And we are now planning with this project that we are just starting off this spring, that our students also will join, or some of our students will join the Nordic tour with the Canadian students. So this is a project like really in the start, but we are building on some really good relationships that we have developed over time. So we're looking forward to work together with this, the educators at the Western further. Yeah. So I'm also happy for questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'm really happy to hear all three of you mentioning the long-term perspective in your introductions. I don't know if you explicitly said it, Astrid, but developing a dual degree in itself is, of course, long-term work. So I'd like to ask you then, how do you approach educational cooperation with your partners in Canada to get to that point where you can think long-term? And what is, I know you touched upon it already, Astrid, but what is the added value from the collaboration with your partner institution that you could not have achieved outside of the framework of your partnership? Would you like to start, Astrid?
Sure. Well, I think that I support what has been said by Morten here, that partners in Canada is dream partners. They are very good collaborators, and we are similar in many aspects, but also different in other aspects. So it's a perfect match in order to tap into each other's resources and learn from each other. And I think that applying for projects is, of course, it's beneficial because you receive funding, and then you receive the financial support to carry out activities that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to fund, perhaps. But also, I think that applying for funding and establishing a project collaboration within these programs is also very useful, because you get to really think through your project when you write the application. And if you are lucky enough to receive funding, you sort of have like a recipe on how you go about to actually carry out the project. And I think that this is definitely something that I encourage everyone to think about. If you have contacts and the collaboration and network within Canadian partners, and you have a project idea, it's very, very useful to be able to apply for a funding scheme and establish a project within, for example, the Utforsk program.
Morten or Elisabeth, would you like to add something?
Yes, I'll be happy to. I think it's the same as Astrid, and in addition to what she told us, it is like connecting. You do like small research steps and have discussions about common activities and common problems that you could solve together through common research perspectives, and then you feel in a way connect. And I think when we experience progress and success in the research and collaboration, that we feel that we deliver both as partners and make agreements, and that we can find out things from our different systems and map these together. I think this is a perspective that leads us to merge new projects, and we rethink and think innovative processes. So they help us and bring us further. So that's why mainly I think that we have started to plan all the projects as well. Because we feel connected, and we have good partnerships with high quality deliverance, and we are dedicated to the teacher educative systems and programs in our countries, and we see also that our students are engaged. And we also have in both the universities got these effect that academic staff and PhD asks, can you help us with giving an internship at Queen's, for example, or in Bodø, and there is a competitive thing that I think is useful, because it's a soft competitive way of developing our teacher programs and our master candidates and PhD candidates as well, since we are inviting them in the activities both online and also when we go abroad. So I think that helps a lot.
I don't know if I should add something, but I'm totally agree with doing the small steps, and I think just getting to know each other is like a very important part of developing so the projects together. So having the opportunities that we have been working several years with staff and students coming to Norway each May, and then we meet again and again, and we can talk and develop and find common interest, and it will be developed more projects. And also we are working with thinking of possibilities for research cooperation as well, because we are getting to know each other and know our interests, and then it will be added value in this cooperation, I think. Yeah.
I see that there is a virtual hand up, so I'd like to welcome Donald Gullberg to raise his question.
Yeah, I have a question. So my name is Donald Gullberg. I'm from University of Bergen. We currently have this North American grant where we've done student exchanges and so on. But I have a question for Astrid regarding internships. So this is not something that we have tried. So I have two questions. One, how long is your internships, and what's the financing? How do you put that into the budget?
Yeah, well, the way we have planned to integrate this internship as part of the program is summer internships. So this will be carried out preferably between the first and second year or in Bergen and in Montreal, when the students move from one institution to another. And with regards to financing, we have, there's a lot of talk in Norway now about financing internships and how that should not be unpaid internships. So we definitely open up for students to receive a salary as part of the internship. It depends on the companies we work with and whether or not they are able to offer it. But we also accept unpaid internships because this is part of the study program, and they receive study points for taking this internship as part of the degree program. So we do not have at the moment any plans of offering, for example, extra financial support for the students to do this internship.
But in the application, you can then apply for the increased living expenses, which is like 10,000 or something per month. Is that correct? Is there a period, a shorter period? If you go for a shorter period, like 2 weeks or something, which we have done so far, can you also put that into budget, that you have increased living expenses for that? Or is there a minimum period that you have to be away to get that? I guess that's to Suna.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was multitasking. Could you raise that question again?
When in the budget, when you write the application, you're asking for expenses for internship. Is there a minimum period that you have to apply for them for extra living expenses? Does it have to be a month and then you apply for 10,000 or whatever it is? Or can you also apply for this for 2 weeks and you reduce the amount by 50%?
Well, what we've said in this year's call is that you may include all forms of mobility. You may not cover costs through the project budgets that may be covered by Lånekassen. So if a student travels more than 4 weeks, you are eligible for travel funding, and if that can be covered for Norwegian students through Lånekassen, you cannot cover it through project funds. So you can include internship placements that are of shorter duration. Okay. But then you will have, well, when we evaluate the applications, we will have to look at the relevance, the whole picture of the project. Okay. We will, and of course, one of the goals of the Panorama Strategy and the Utforsk program is to increase long-term mobility with the Panorama countries and Canada. Right. So bear that in mind.
Right, but you can always apply for, you will always cover travel and hotels. Is that correct, or for students?
As long as it's not covered by other sources, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I'll go back to the panel then, and I would like to develop or talk some more about something you said before, Astrid, I think it was. How can you build on established research networks and to make them become something broader and more relevant to educational collaboration? And how can you identify relevant partners in your search for collaboration? I saw that someone in the chat also raised the question of how to identify partners in Norway among our Canadian participants. Anyone want to share?
Yeah, I can start a little bit, because it's like getting new friends. You have to look for things that you have in common. It's as simple as that, and establish these small step relationships and find out if you have things that you will build on. And I think we used a little bit of our networks to find the partner with the quality and the standard that you would like to cooperate with, and then you can invite them for informal collaborative pre-meetings, just to discover if you find things. And for us it was really nice, because we have the nationally responsible for the Lule Sami and the South Sami languages, and also Queens have the responsibility for some indigenous tribes and their language. And we also have an indigenous teacher training program at the master's levels in common on both our universities. So we found like these things, and also the programs for educational leaderships. So when we shared these common things, we started to realize that here is something that we would like to build on. And we also were so lucky to have one of our staff members who had been at Queen's as well. So it's to use the network that we have in our campuses and at our universities, and try to connect, because if you have a chat with researchers and academic colleagues, I think that is a good way and an entrance to can say, oh, I know that person there, you can mail them and we can ask them if they are interested. But I also would like to say that finding partners is an okay thing to do, and it's not so hard, I think. But what is hard and important is to maintain these relationships, so that you can not have the implementation dip in a project. So that I have been very stressed about, not only because of the pandemic, but we know that it is a certain danger for these implementation dip, so that you put in energy and then you can harvest all the way in the project term. So yeah.
I could also add that for our Canadian audience, there is a webpage called Study in Norway, where you can see a complete list of all Norwegian higher education institutions and what study programs that are offered in English. So that could be a good starting point. And of course, you've also been introduced today to our colleagues at the Canadian Embassy in Oslo, and also in the Norwegian Embassy in Ottawa, and myself, of course, and my colleagues in the directorates. You're welcome to contact us if you are in search for partners.
I also shared a blog. We have a blog that you can look into whenever you have time to see some of the activities and maybe get some ideas as well, so that you can ask and invite the future partners into such collaborative activities. Then it can also help, I think.
Thank you, Emrys, for being so quick in sharing that link. I think we'll conclude with one last question, if there aren't any more of the audience wanting to raise questions to you, and that is, does the Panorama Strategy and the funding schemes under it, does it have implications for how you approach future collaboration? I think I'll give the word to Elisabeth.
Of course, I think having funding that supports international activities is important in order to establish good relationships and develop sustainable cooperation with partners, because of course we want our activities to extend the period of funding, but we have to develop this kind of comprehensive enough cooperation that it's not just one person being engaged at each institution, but it's several teachers and researchers that are having experiences, and that the network is strong. And we also see that at OsloMet that some of our researchers have had earlier cooperation and relationship has evolved into internships and collaboration on modules, and also that other study programs than occupational therapy are involved, like physiotherapy and nursing studies, and technology and design faculty is involved. So we have several of our professors involved at OsloMet, and of course the funding contributes that we have resources to travel, to visit each other, and also to do the developmental work that costs time and effort from all our. Then we also have the possibility for us that are educators to have some time that are dedicated to develop the project and cooperate. So I think that is important, and of course what we do is somehow implicated by how the funding and the possibilities are presented to us. So yeah, it is important, yes.
Sorry, I was muted. And Astrid.
Yeah, well, NHH is the business school, and we follow the money. So where there is money, we go. But jokes aside, I think that it's the Panorama Strategy offers a lot of interesting opportunity for us, and it also creates a lot of opportunities that in places that we perhaps otherwise wouldn't have gone if we hadn't got funding. And we have had projects on developing internship opportunities, for example, in countries as different as Brazil and Japan. And that has been very interesting, because then we have learned from different countries how internship is organized and how they do it in the different academic institutions there. And now we have ended up with a project in Germany on internship. So I think that the Panorama Strategy offers a lot of exciting and educational opportunities to go out in the world and learn from others and create new exciting connections and innovative programs that offer new opportunities to students. And it also carries opportunities for the researchers that connect in developing these projects. So yeah, of course, the Panorama Strategy and the funding schemes that follows with it is very important to us, and this is something that we really prioritize to be a part of and be active as a partner in applying for funding within these schemes.
Thank you very much. I'll give Morten the last word before answering a couple of questions that has been entered in the chat. Morten.
Thank you. In addition to what Astrid said, that I like, we follow the money, of course, but it is also the frames in the program which I find helpful to design the application. And the guidelines also are relevant to what we would like to achieve at the university with our education programs. So it's like the governmental goals fits also with our universities and faculty strategies. And that has also been helpful because Queen's University in Kingston also have the same perspectives in their strategy. So I think that the Panorama is very helpful. It supports us when we are designing the application as well as the collaboration.
So that was the famous last words from the panel, I think. There was a question from Mr. Gautam Srivastava. If there is funding for PhD and master students through any of the mentioned calls for students going on degree mobility or exchange, and as an answer to that, I can point you in the direction of the Norwegian strategy for student mobility, which also the Panorama strategy that I presented is a follow-up on. We want to see, or in our funding schemes, we fund student exchange. We want to see changes at study program level, that you collaborate with your international partners to improve the educational quality and relevance for students. In our funding schemes, we would like to see students going on shorter or on exchange, and preferably on a period between 3 and 6 to 12 months. So full-time student mobility is not funded through our schemes, but that's for the Norwegian students, that will be covered through the State Educational Loan Fund. Yeah. There is still a couple of minutes left of the time that was set up for the webinar. So if anyone of the audience has something they would like to add, please raise your hand. And I don't see any hands. So then I would just like to thank my good colleagues in the embassies, Radina and Björn, and also my colleagues in the Norwegian higher education sector, Morten, Astrid, or Lisbeth, for joining me in this webinar. And we really look forward to seeing a lot of collaboration between Norway and Canada in years to come. Have a good morning and afternoon, everyone.